There are people who have hurt us in our life. There are people who have betrayed us, who have stabbed us in the back, who have caused us pain, who we trusted, and let me tell you, his brothers did not like him very much because he was his father's favorite. We want some of that Egyptian grain because we're dying of famine in Canaan. Now Joseph could have said, "Hey, I remember what you did to me, and for months and months I was angry. And I remember I prayed and I said, God, I'm angry, I'm hurt, I'm disappointed." What it does mean is this: when we go through pain, when we go through suffering, when we go through disappointment, when we go through betrayal, we have a choice. You can either let that pain continue to control you, or you can choose to forgive and move forward. The choice is yours, but don't let the pain define you. Don't let the pain control you. Choose to forgive, choose to move on, and choose to honor God in the process. We can either let it make us bitter or we can let it make us better. The Bible verse that says, "No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man." God is faithful, and He will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you can bear. But with the temptation, He will also make the way of escape that you may be able to endure and overcome. That means that whatever you're going through right now, whatever you're suffering, whatever pain you've experienced, God understands it. He's been there. He's gone through more than you've ever gone through. And He has not only given you the strength to go through it, but He has also given you a way of escape so that you can overcome it. I don't understand why they did this to me. And then God spoke to my heart and He said, "That's good." And I said, "What do you mean, God? Why would you allow me to be hurt like this?" And He said, "David, pain causes us to seek God. Pain causes us to rely on God. Pain causes us to depend on God. Pain causes us to trust in God. And sometimes the pain that we go through, although it's difficult at the time, has eternal benefits that far outweigh the temporary pain. You stripped me of my coat. You threw me in the pit. You sold me into slavery. Forget it. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to give you any grain." But what He said was, "No, don't be angry or bitter or upset. God meant it for good, because by now, if I hadn't been sold into slavery, I wouldn't be here in Egypt and I wouldn't have become the prime minister and we would all be dying. So instead, let's celebrate." And they hated Him so much that they sold Him into slavery. They took Him, they stripped Him of His coat, they dipped Him in a pit of tar. And then they sold Him to some merchants who took Him all the way from the land of Canaan into Egypt. And Joseph ended up in prison in Egypt for something he didn't do. And this guy just suffered one setback after another, and confided in who we thought were friends, and they turned out not to be. There's a story in the Bible about a man named Joseph. Now, Joseph had 11 brothers. This doesn't mean that it's okay for people to betray us. What Jesus is saying is this: when people hurt us and when we feel hurt, we have a choice. We can either let bitterness and anger and resentment take over our lives, or we can choose to forgive. And forgiveness doesn't mean that we forget. It doesn't mean that we condone what they did. It just means that we refuse to let their actions continue to have a negative impact on our lives. But what's interesting is this: after years and years and years, after he interpreted the Pharaoh's dream and he became the prime minister of Egypt and all of that, the very brothers who had sold him into slavery came to him and they bowed down to him and they said, "Now this doesn't mean that it's okay for people to hurt us. Years ago, someone very close to me did something that really hurt me deeply. Now this doesn't mean that we should go around seeking out pain. The enemy wants us to feel guilt, shame, and regret over what happened to us. But the truth is, you have a choice.